Okay, brothers, I'm back. I'm downloading that video. The kid that was whining about the girls going to the cops on him. Uh, that has this photo on. I'm gonna download that video. And I'm going to mask his face in there. I'm gonna leave the photo up, but I'm gonna mask his face so you can't see. Maybe I'll just put this black strip around his eyes or something. I don't know. We'll see what we do. But you guys got to be careful out there when if you're still hoe chasing. On my site, one of the fellows put up a video in response to this hoe chasing kid here. We won't call him PUA. Let's call him a hoe chaser. Like like I said last time, like he's like a monkey in heat. And it was kind of a funny video. They were showing how to get away with it at work. And my point. The point of the video was, as I showed you guys, it was if you're handsome and tall and all that kind of stuff, you can get away with it, and that shows further proof of what I was talking about. The good-looking guys, they can get away with it. For us average guys, it sucks ass, especially if you're below average or if you're not the right race they want to have chasing after them. Back when the Arabs start coming over to the country, invading the nightclubs and stuff, there was a lot of problems with the Arab population or Middle Eastern brothers. They were doing the same type of stuff, and I was bouncing then, and it was a big problem. Okay, because they were bringing their ideology of women over here, and it took them a while to assimilate and learn that you can't do that kind of rude stuff to American women. So it's going to get worse out there. Okay, this is like just first signs of stuff. Women, they've had enough. They've really had enough. But what sucks is if this brother who got the cops called on him looked like Shamar Moore, basically a good-looking African American, drop dead gorgeous like these guys are supposed to be, or these Hodge twin guys that I use as an example, light skin with blue eyes. Yeah, and look, I know it sounds like I'm worshiping light skinned folks, but I'm not. Okay, I'm not. But I'm just showing how the African American community is towards light skinned brothers. All right. All I gotta do is look at my own dad. Relationship. My mom's real dark. My dad was really, really light. So I know that about this community, my own community. My ex-wife, her mother was light skinned. Her father was dark skinned. And between the two, it's actually better to have your mom light-skinned because that gives you, it gives you, the people whose mothers are light-skinned, they have a different look, let's put it that way. If you want to do that whole light-skin, dark-skin thing. But getting back on point, if he had been like a Shamar Moore type, the girls probably, would have went out with him or not complained as much. If it had been, drop dead gorgeous. And I applaud the young brother for having confidence in himself. But sometimes we got to look at reality of how we truly look. Like I said, I know if I got back in the game, I would drop 40 pounds and step out there. Nothing I can do about my face because of the prednisone I took, but I'd get my body back in shape. That's just the way it is. I know how the game's played. And I'm trying to get you guys to understand that you got to level the playing field. That means you got to know how to dress good. You have to know how to put in a good appearance when you step up. You also got to know how to play the game properly. Like when I talked about my webinar, the first thing I talked about was you got to get rid of those wrong expectations that you've been programmed with. And I showed a picture of a geek, a nerd. And I had another picture of this really hot chick. You guys have been told that you can be a nerd and you can still get this hot chick to fuck you. Now, how many of you guys have had that type of success? That's why a lot of the guys on So Suave are still virgins. Okay? I saw the faces of the people on So Suave many years ago, and I said, damn, these those fucking nerds like in high school. We had nerds when I was growing up too. So I realized that's the fallacy of what's going on the internet. So in order to get you a girl for the next 30 days, you got to bust that fallacy. Okay, that fallacy ain't going to work for you because it's not based in reality. Really hot chicks, as I talked about in my webinar, they vibrate at a higher level. They have higher self-esteem. They have higher inner confidence, inner game. Okay, that's men and women. And the higher ones go for the higher ones. Like I talked about in my webinar, there's levels to this game. Badass motherfuckers get badass bitches. That's the way it is. Okay? And I gave several examples of badass motherfuckers. Those are the good-looking motherfuckers. Those are the dudes with swag. There's dudes with money. Okay, money sells too. And then there's, bad motherfuckers. And that's where people see like, I know this big fat guy that got a hot chick. You always see these idiots. I mean, fucking idiots come back with these stupid-ass stories like that. I know this ugly guy. They got that inner masculinity going on. You won't see a fat, feminine dude unless there's money. All right? Don't get it twisted. I go to coffee. There's a brother there with straight hair. His father was French. His mother was black and American Indian. And he's got to be in his late 60s. But in good shape. He's a tiny little man. He's about 5'4". I think he's about 5'4". Maybe 5'5", actually. But he's small. And he's got a 25-year-old girlfriend. Okay? This is a motherfucker that should be somebody's great-grandfather. But he's got a 25-year-old girlfriend. She started off as a nanny to his daughter, because he has a daughter with special needs. And shit happened. And now they've been together for... Well, she got pregnant, and now he's got a 3-year-old son. But normally that kind of stuff, it's about this. And the girl's smart. He's got a house. He's got a boat. He's got, big vans. He makes money. He knows how to make money, too. So she did a good thing. She found an old sugar daddy, take care of her, but, he's still spry. And that's how it is for, older guys. I don't want to date young chicks because we have nothing really in common, verbally or mentally. Young chicks are good for me educating them and sex. But when you get to mature in your life, you actually want a partner, someone you can talk to, someone that you can share your dreams and ideas with. And that's what a girlfriend's good for, someone that you can talk to. That's why I recommend, like in my webinar, you get what's called a starter girlfriend. And I showed examples of where I've taken a girl that was basically unattractive and blew her up, smoking hotness. That's what I do for a living. But you don't have to be a trainer to do that. You can still get a starter girlfriend and work with her. And as I said, there are the benefits there of, first of all, it increases your confidence and your energy. It gets you used to being around women. Many of you guys, you feel uncomfortable around women. So why not practice on the lower level ones before you try going for these smoking hot babes? At least grow your balls, your masculine ability to handle women. You guys who are at the bottom here, you get around hot women, she gonna tell you what to do, you gotta jump and do it instead of being men. Alright? You know that's true. Every one of you guys listen to me, that's the fucking truth. So you gotta grow your confidence to that level. And I explained that I never reached the top level. Okay, I showed different, charts, color charts in there, and red was the smoking hot people, and then below that was a curve of green. I reached the green. Okay, that means I worked on myself, got my body in shape, developed my inner confidence, my game, swag, everything, dress, my attitude, and I was able to pull the hot ones down to me. All right, but most guys, they're down here on the even keel, and I said that the TFL people, they're like looped down here, below average, because they've totally given up. That's where their inner game and confidence is, and the hot people are way up here. People who are hot have nothing in common with the people who are at the average. So you got to learn to grow your game. You got to crawl before you can walk in this game. So run around chasing, white women on the campus when you don't have your shit tight is not the way to go about your game to success, fellas. So you guys who are in college, beware of that, because women are getting attacked every day, and they're not kidding anymore. They are not kidding. They don't want the unattractive guys or the average guys up in their faces. They want the, if they're Caucasian women, and they have every right to be this way. If you're one of those black guys that get mad and hate, how dare you? A woman has the right to date her own race and want children with her own race. Okay? Don't get mad at white women because they don't want to date black dudes. That's stupid. And I look at how, everything's been reversed. Back in the history of this country, it was white men raping black women, and then raping their children from those black women, and raping those children from those black women. Some of you guys out there who are Caucasian, you don't realize you got black blood in you. Like the guy that was the president of the Genetic Society. He said that people of African descent were genetically inferior. Then he found out his great-grandmother was black. And that's how it happens. This guy was white as fuck. Freckles. You never thought there was any white in his blood. He found that out and he went into retirement from the Genetic Society. Hasn't been seen or heard from since. This motherfucker went into retirement. There's some people. There's a fellow that I have a photo that's been circulating, but there was a fellow that actually in the past he went to a dermatologist, had his skin turned black. He lasted 2 days before he ran home crying. 2 days. The guy that I work out with, the old dude, he'd probably commit suicide if he couldn't change back. The other one I work out with, he's my age, he'd probably have a good time with it if he got turned into a brother. But it's no joke in this country being black. I know we think it's all hunky-dory and all that kind of stuff, and it's good some of the actors made being black cool and all that, but when we get to the streets, there's white men out there that still hate us, all right? They're still programmed with the old stuff. There are white cops out there shooting brothers every day for any kind of goddamn reason, so you got to be careful in your game out there, especially when you cross the color line. Don't let a white chick call the cops on you, okay? Don't let them call the cops on you, because you will end up in jail. They'll take her word for it, and if you make it to jail, okay, then you got a good chance that you may actually, spend a little bit of time in jail, but that's it. A couple of years in prison or whatever. It's her word against yours, and they'll take her word. Don't get shit twisted. Anyway, but like I was saying, it was white men and black women. Okay, then it became because of the movement of the 60s and all that kind of stuff, power to the people and stuff like that. White women started idolizing black dudes, and they started in the 70s started dating black guys. When I was a kid in high school, that's when when I was in high school, there was nothing for a black guy to date a white girl. That's something that when I was a younger child, 60s, you wouldn't see. All right, too much of. It did happen, but you wouldn't see too much of it. But it was in adults, not in school. Also, we were not allowed. We were not allowed to do that in school when I was growing up. But anyway, got to California. I saw black guys dating white chicks. I was like amazed. But that's when it started. There was a big explosion. So if you look at the biracial people, many of them, the servicemen were going to Europe and bringing back Caucasian women, like English chicks. Okay, or to Germany, bring back German chicks. To Italy, bringing back Italian chicks. You'll see that the older ones, like my generation, if they're biracial, their mother more than likely came from another country. But they've been reversing that. Okay, that's what happened in the middle. White men, black women, then black men, white women. Now they're putting it in the movies to program black women to date white men. It's not working too well because black women, they love brothers, but there are quite a number of black women that are switching over. It's a program. They don't realize that they're being programmed, but there are advantage. Like they joke about, a white man will have good credit. It's the way it is. Nothing we can do about that except work on ourselves, brothers, to us black males out there. But it's interesting how Hollywood can actually program people. I'm amazed at that. During the movie, I looked for like signs and symbols and stuff like that. In one scene, when you got inside, it was DiCaprio's, the first place DiCaprio was, I believe it was. Yeah, when they first meet Leonardo DiCaprio, you'll notice that there's a bust on a stand, Egyptian bust, of an Egyptian with really white skin. And about a year ago or some time ago, that I forget his name, Hawass. He runs the Egyptian Antiquities. He said, "I'm not going to release the DNA of the little boy King Tut," but somehow they pan over. The camera pans over some DNA results, and some people got together and said it came out Caucasian, Western European. And when you think about it, where does his business come from? And blacks ain't going over there to pay all that money to see some Egyptian ruins. It's white folks. It just happened to pan over some DNA, and it shows that. Well, he said he's going to release it. Eventually, it'll come out that that was not his DNA. They only saw partials of it too. And some bright boy extrapolated it's Eastern or Western European. And we genetically know that, no offense to my Caucasian brothers, listen to me, but you guys are about 6,000 years old. They are estimating now that the Sphinx is about 12,000 years old, but they won't let it become a fact. There's a scientist that there's marks around the Sphinx, and he postulated that it came from when that area was a rainforest. Okay, so if 12,000, 6,000, that's when Caucasians start coming out of the Caucasus Mountains and spreading out through Europe. To assume that, no offense to my Caucasian brothers, but to assume that Caucasian folks came down to the hot ass country down there in a desert where people die of skin cancer, a race that dies of skin cancer real fast, and malaria. By the way, the boy King was also found to have malaria, though. It's a couple bouts of malaria. He was also crippled, but to come down there and build pyramids where they didn't build pyramids anywhere else. But you go down to Sudan, there's pyramids there. That's the kind of shit that black folks got to deal with. Stuff like that. It's funny at times, and it's sad at times. But it is what it is. I say if you're an African American or African descent, just keep riding it. Don't let it get to you. Peace.